Welcome back to the Shacknews Awards. We have another award to give out here. It's the best art style of the year 2024. To be considered in this category, you had to release your game this year and had to have an art style that someone on the staff or multiple people found stunning or compelling or different enough to be in this category. So let's list off the nominees and then we'll get to talking about them and then we'll get to voting. Another Crab's Treasure. The Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. The Plucky Squire. Metaphor, ReFantazio. Tales of Kenzaro Zhao. And Mario and Luigi, Brothership. Not surprising to see some Nintendo games in this category, as their art style tends to carry their software, especially in year 8 of the Nintendo Switch system. But yeah, we reviewed another Crab's Treasure here. A very unique indie game, Souls-like, right? Underwater indie game Souls-like here. It is stylized to all hell. It's kind of like a cartoony sort of a vibe, right?
Yeah. I really like this game. I think I don't remember if TJ reviewed it, but I'm pretty sure he told me about it. I really like this game. I've kind of reached the point where I don't really play Souls likes anymore because a lot of them are too similar. So I really only play them if they do something different. This game did that, and part of the aesthetic to me, or part of the appeal, was the aesthetic. I love that you see trash in the ocean, and the denizens of the ocean have transformed it into cities and valleys. The water is beautiful, just the light reflecting off the water. It's just a beautiful game.
What is the Souls-like equivalent? Like, what are the Souls equivalent in this? Is it like microplastics?
Yes.
Yes.
Like, that's good ass world building right there. Especially after the revelations about all of us having microplastics in our bloodstream.
The person you owe money to is a literal shark, a literal loan shark.
Yeah.
It's funny and punny.
And not
only is he a shark. Yeah, he's one of those toy.
The things. I don't know what they're called, but the things you squeeze and they mouth it open. Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at, though, David. It's like there's the things dripping with humor, and the art style kind of informs a lot of that.
Oh, it's hilarious.
It feels like a cartoon at times. I know there's some other games in this category that also kind of feel cartoony at times too, but
it's like also not worried about like dropping the whimsy for a sec and getting really like unsettling at times. When you first like the whole one of the very, very, very early twists is that like every creature that is taking on these microplastics is slowly driving themselves insane. So when you see it happen, and when you see some of the other like boss creatures further along in the game, some of them are really creepy. Like, David, did you get to the one where you have to run from it for the first time and you do not want to face off against it on your first go?
Yes.
That thing is legitimately terrifying.
Yes, it is.
No. Yeah, you're right. It's not just on the surface, it looks like cutesy, cartoony. And then you're like, oh, wow, this is demented in some places.
Yeah, it's that sweet spot between.
Which is cool. And yeah, like it was a standout indie game for sure this year and deserves to be in this category. Saying next to, I think it was my nominee here, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I absolutely love the art style. I love Chibi Zelda and Chibi Link, and obviously this is taking a lot of inspiration from the Link's Awakening remake that came out earlier on the Switch platform. But yeah, I thought they nailed it. This is the best version of a top-down Hyrule we've ever seen. I thought the characters were designed interestingly enough. But yeah, it's more just the overall cutesiness of the game. Like, it's adorable. This game is like certifiably adorable. The horse is cute. Conde, this abominable snowman who lives in the Heber Mountains, is adorable. You get to see the Deku people again. Like, they're hilarious and cute and funny. And yeah, I don't know. It's this merger of the Breath of the Wild mechanic into the Link's Awakening art style that I think opens doors for new and cool looking things in this game.
It also kind of inspired some really funny stuff this year. Like the amount of memes that came out of that wanted poster for Zelda are magnificent. With her big nose on the front of the poster.
Like, here's something crazy about Zelda fans that I thought was funny this year. So in some of the promotional material, you saw Zelda with her hood down, right? But there's no way to take your hood down in the game. So like, there's like a literal petition from Zelda fans to Nintendo to put hood down Zelda as a clothing option in the game. And I'm like, that's how obsessive people got about this. It's just interesting because this game feels, I'm not saying it's divisive, but it feels hit or miss with some people, where some people got it and were like, yes, I love this game. And it kind of flew under the radar at some other award shows and outlets, which I find surprising. This is the kind of game where Nintendo really leaned into what makes them great. I do want to point out the dungeon design in this is masterful. The maps are great, and the art style influences a lot of that, especially that balance between the top-down parts of the dungeon alongside the 2D Link's Awakening, Zelda 2 style side-scrolling things. The design of all those areas is stunning. They made water levels that I don't hate at all. Like, they're actually cool water levels in the Zelda game. But also the water looks outstanding. The final boss battle is stunning. The world, the different areas that you get to go, the underworld, what you see down there when you go into the rifts, I thought was like a striking difference. Like they did a really good job. They always do, Nintendo with their art style. So worthy nominee. Oddly enough, our next nominee is very similar, in that the Plucky Squire feels like a Zelda game of sorts and is stunning. Ozzy, I know you're a big fan of this game.
The Plucky Squire is a love letter to those Zelda type of games, and the main story takes place inside a picture book, a kid's storybook, like those big rectangle hardcovers, and you open them up and they're beautifully illustrated in the way that a lot of those stories are. You watch a lot of those illustrations unfold like in real time, almost kind of thing. I love the way it's drawn, but if it had just been that, it would have been enough. But part of the story takes Jot, the Plucky Squire, out of the picture book and takes him into the real world. And the real world is rendered similarly to something like Echoes of Wisdom or Link's Awakening. It's more of that diorama kind of art style, because the picture book is on a kid's desk. And the desk is like full of like, things you'd find on a kid's desk, like pencils, erasers, that kind of thing. And you explore the kid's desk in the 3D world. And what's really interesting is, as the game goes on, you start to explore other areas that also have like kind of picture art styles to match. You find that somewhere like about an hour in, you need to find a bow. And the bow is found in like a Magic the Gathering card type of thing. And they match the art style to that as well. Later on, you need to find an item in like a space area, and the space mug at the top of like a stack of stuff is also matches that whole thing. There's a lunchbox that has like a Jurassic Park kind of like caveman kind of aesthetic, and the art style to that matches that as well. I think Devolver Digital and All Possible Futures actually really went ham with a lot of these art styles. I think it's really cool that they went above and beyond the storybook aesthetic, and I think for that, like this is perfect for this category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to hear what Ozzy said, there are moments in the game where you're like, whoa, like that's cool. Like constantly throughout the game, like they do something different within the game that changes it drastically, like how it looks or how you interact, going from 2D to 3D, whatever. They do a lot of cool things.
And in a lot of places, they mix and match them, which is really cool.
And the references to past games that they use, the art style informs everything you're talking about here, which I think is very important for this category. Yeah, that's a solid nomination. My God. Metaphor ReFantazio is beautiful, Donovan.
It is. It is
Like-
a stunning art style, and funnily enough, I think it starts at the menus. Right, we've talked about it in other categories where it's like the only game where you'll talk about the pause screen is like a testament to how good the art style is.
Or like
But
the dialogue boxes are stylized, Donovan. They're like
everything.
animated and stylized.
There's not a moment in any frame of that game that something isn't moving on screen in a way
Yeah.
that catches your eye. It's like a piece of moving artwork in and of itself. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful game to look at. And it's not like a graphically super impressive game. It's not like high fidelity or hyper realistic, but it just looks cool as hell whenever anything's happening, even when nothing's happening.
I mean, it has the quality of like a high quality anime, though, right? Like it's not a game that you're gonna hear about. Oh, you have to play this on PS5 Pro. Like that's not
Right.
what this game is. But it's kind of what makes this studio so iconic is that they like Persona 5 Royal on Switch actually runs well and plays well and looks good because of what you're talking about. It's similar to how Nintendo operates, where style can even cover up maybe lesser tech or lower budget technology being used for a game, but it's still the most one. I think it's the most stunning game that I've seen this year. I'll just throw it out there. I think Metaphor ReFantazio is just outstanding from an art style standpoint.
You know what kind of adds to the overall just everything about that game?
Mhm.
The effect that they have where there's just magic in the air that's around them and it's being sucked up by those little speaker things that are in the cities.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
Magla, that's what it's called.
Magla.
And it's just always in the air around you, like sparkling and like snow just around you at all times. And
Mhm.
it really does just add sort of an enchanting effect to every single scene in that game.
Yeah.
Handcrafted, man. Every inch of that screen.
Beautiful. Tales of Kinsara Zao is another stunning game. This was made by a smaller studio too, but they were able to, I think who reviewed this? Was it you, Ozzy?
I reviewed this. David has been playing it lately, and David has been really, really getting into it.
Mhm.
So I'll let him speak first before I jump in.
Okay.
Yeah, this game is just beautifully animated, beautifully drawn. The backgrounds, I mean, I'm taking screenshots what feels like every 20, 30 seconds
Mhm.
to use as wallpaper. It's just rich with culture, rich with colors. I love especially you can go kind of fire and ice with your builds. And just the way even like when you double jump, like you'll leave trails of like ashes or ice images as you jump and bound along walls. This game is just gorgeous to behold in motion, and even still, it's quite a looker.
You're
The-
right though. It is more noticeable when you're playing it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
The
Which is
way they
important.
draw out the African savannas, like it looks gorgeous. You see the waterfalls in the background, and to complement that, you have that gameplay mechanic of like your powers from the sun and your power from the moon, and the way they contrast those color spectrums and that art style, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
This is
I
before
don't.
we even get into what happens when you get into the underworld and those types of areas.
Mhm. But I think contrast of light and dark can inform an art style in interesting ways, and it seems like they kind of nailed that. Yeah, I don't know. We can move on to the last one. Mario and Luigi Brothership. This game's stylized to all hell. I remember the first trailer we saw. We are like, this looks nothing like any other Mario game I've ever seen. And I just think it's neat to see Mario's character model and Luigi's be changed. Right? We saw it with Mario Wonder, and now we're seeing it again here. We obviously saw it in the Mario movie. But yeah, like they're letting studios take some chances with this iconic IP.
They took those sprites that we're so familiar with in the other Mario and Luigi games that we've seen out of crap. Why do I always keep forgetting the name of the studio? And they translated it into 3D. And I think it's an acquired taste. Some people didn't like the jump to 3D for these sprites.
Alpha Dream. Sorry.
Alpha Dream. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
But some people didn't like the jump to 3D. I disagree. I think the jump to 3D was actually quite eloquent, and it makes those expressive gestures that you see from the characters that much more. It hits a lot harder. And between that and the islands that you visit and the water that you sail on, I think it all comes out really well. I think I don't think it's as does it as well as executed as well as the other nominees, but I think this is a good nominee.
Yeah. I think whenever they take a risk with the Mario and Luigi model, it's like those character models is interesting to watch. But to your point about 3D versus 2D, like the victory screen, and they're like dancing and celebration, like that has more attitude than a 2D sprite version of that screen would have. And like even
better all year than Luigi's Level Up. Like that's so great.
Luigi's Level Up is exactly what I'm talking about. And also like when Luigi has those epiphanies of Luigi logic mid-game, that animation, it wouldn't hit the same in a 2D art style. So I think like little things like that maybe people didn't find as charming as I did, but like, I don't know. I've said this before. I like games where Luigi is elevated. This is one of those games, and they took the love into the character model too, for both of them. So definitely a worthy nominee. Once again, this is a very stacked category. So it's gonna be interesting to see where our votes land here. But unless anyone has anything else they want to chime in about any of these, you guys ready to vote?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get to voting. Where am I? I am here. Let's see who hasn't started. Donovan, let's start with you.
Gonna be Metaphor ReFantazio for me.
Denny.
I'm also going with Metaphor. It's gorgeous.
It is, man. It's a stunning presentation. Greg.
I'm gonna go with Plucky Squire.
And I say this in a lot of categories. These games are all pretty great. You should try them all out when you get a chance. And especially if you're an admirer of good-looking games. Not necessarily graphically intensive ones. TJ.
Metaphor ReFantazio.
Yeah. Ozzy.
I'm gonna stick with the Plucky Squire. Even if it was just a storybook, that enough would put it over. But like it blends those art styles together so well. Yeah,
the 3D and the 2D being mixed is, I think, what's really striking about that game. And just cool. the way they tell the story, because of that, is also cool. Bill.
Metaphor, please.
Sam.
Metaphor, thank you.
Okay. Steve.
Zelda. I'll go with Zelda.
Hell yeah. David.
Tales of Kenzaro.
Okay. And I'm going to vote for Metaphor also. Because it's gorgeous. I can just sit there and look at a menu and be like, yep, that's the best art style of the year. But then also like while you're playing, the art style of like the archetype special moves. You know what I mean? Like how stylized that game is almost at every single turn. But to me, the most important part of that game is the battle mechanics, but also just what it looks like when you're battling. And I think menu design, team composition, planning, frontline versus backline, like all these different things that they allow for. Yeah, it's really great. And like Donovan said, it's not the graphically most intensive game you've ever seen. It just is stunning because of its art style and the attention to detail in the game. So congratulations to Sega Atlas. You have won the Shacknews Award for Best Art Style of the Year 2024 for your amazing art direction in the game Metaphor ReFantazio.
Story or weave. Let's do it. You'll be a hero. Trust me.